Good afternoon. Welcome back to the Festival Hall stage. And here we're delighted to partner with the European Cultural Centre to discuss, I think, a very interesting and tricky problem of how you exhibit architecture, in particular in Venice, where obviously, in some ways, has become the home of exhibiting architecture from the Venice Architecture Biennale, which started in 1980, I think. So, that's why I call it the recent history of architecture exhibiting. And of course, it's a very prestigious event. It has had an enormous amount of important and interesting work that has been shown there. You could date the first Biennale in 1980 as being the sort of high point of postmodernism. That has since retreated, and it's become a showcase in many ways for new ideas and new ways of thinking about architecture, particularly as the number of national participants has expanded. So the whole issue of exhibiting architecture in Venice is, I think, a really important one. And in some ways, it works in parallel with what we do at WAF, where although we have had small invited exhibitions, we're a 3-day event, and I can tell you, having run an exhibition program at the Royal Academy of Arts in London, you don't make exhibitions of 3 days unless you're slightly mad, which I suspect we probably are. But what we're going to do then is we're going to hear from Rachele Di Stefano, who is the head of architecture and exhibition organizer at the ECS, and Luciana Padrano, head, who is also with the European Cultural Centre. And then two people who have experience of exhibiting in Venice, Heather Doubledum, on my right, of Doubledum Architecture and Design, and Shraddha Gopalakrishnan, sorry for my pronunciation, from the University of Technology and Design here in Singapore, and you've been responsible for some of the Singaporean exhibits there. So we have people with experience of both commissioning, facilitating, and making exhibitions in Venice. So Luciana and Rachele, would you like to start?
Thank you, Jeremy, for the introduction. Today I'm with Lucia. As Jeremy said, we are colleagues at European Cultural Centre in Venice, and we have on stage Heather and Shilalita, who are both previous participants in our exhibition in Venice. So it's a pleasure to be here. We follow the WAF activities already many years, and today we will introduce you briefly to our activities and events in Venice. The European Cultural Centre is an organization that we started long ago in Venice. We started as students working on this project, and now it's more than 10 years that we do this exhibition in Venice in parallel to La Biennale di Venezia. We organize two exhibitions, mainly personal structure for art during the Art Biennale and time space existence during the Architecture Biennale. We use in Venice different venues, 4 venues, Palazzo Mora, Palazzo Bembo, and the gardens of Marina Ressa. So a very important aspect of our project is the fact that we renovate these venues. We make them accessible for free to the public during the 6 months of the Biennale, and we hope to create a platform with our project which is open to creative minds from all over the world for sharing ideas, sharing research, thoughts in architecture, in art, in design. And we do not only organize an exhibition, that's not enough to create this platform to stimulate dialogue. We also, during the 6 months, open up our venues for events to deepen the conversation on the main topics of our exhibitions. And for this reason, we collaborate with all our participants who are architects, designers, academic institutions, that represent their project in Venice under different forms and through different media. And with this video, we will explain more about the last editions.
Every 2 years, the world stops and says, how are we projecting the future of our profession and its relationship to the world? We're trying to present the laboratory for the future of urbanism, but also the kind of work that we are doing on cities, data and design, community engagement and experts, as being experiments towards a better future of cities.
Housing is much more than the obvious. It can play different kinds of roles. We picked a problem that actually helped define a typology that we could use many places.
I thought architecture had to have more color, more vibration. I was very interested in architecture always, but after World War II, it became very boring. I discovered Solomonic columns and arches and domes. My work is making fun of architecture, especially of old architecture. Before, nobody would have built this. Now maybe they would build it.
We created an installation that we call Counterbalance that is essentially what we think of as a collective furnishing. We wanted something that people were immediately drawn to and that they wanted to touch and that they wanted to interact with. And we were introduced by the ECC to the fabricators here in Italy. They helped us find a regional material. And that's something we're thinking about in all of our projects. Where are materials being sourced? How are they moving to get to the site? How do we emphasize minimizing waste?
The name of our exhibition is Essential Homes Research Project. It's aimed at starting the debate over temporality in settlements, in the case for humanitarian and other type of crises. We aim to provide a solution that is more permanent, more durable, that protects inhabitants with a low CO2 emissions with an affordable solution.
The Essential Homes Research Project is located at Giardini della Marinaresa. We have a room at Palazzo Mora in which we also depict the context. We research photographic representations of different approaches to essential homes. We have also supporting drawings, physical model samples of the material we've been using, and also big images of how can it be used for communities.
I think it's crucial that you imagine for who you are designing and for who you're making a home. We should also think much more in a collective way. It's not just a single home, it's also the collective of many homes together. I could learn a lot from other countries, how they do their affordable housing. Venice is extremely important where we meet. It's important to show it to the audience, to come up with ideas, to give politicians or developers ideas, give them inspiration. But it's also very much for the architecture community ourselves, that we inspire each other and that we learn from each other. So all come to Venice, to the European Cultural Center. There's an enormous amount of exhibitions and it gives you a lot of inspiration.
Biennales are a cross-section of the future. Venice is the primary place for architects to come together, to have discussions, debate, and deliberation.
It's really worthwhile, honestly, because a lot of smart people come here. People with nose in the whole world, they're here wanting to see the work. It's a place where people meet and enjoy each other.
So through this short video about our last edition of Time Space Existence, you had the chance to see a little bit of our venues and the insights to the 2023 edition of the show. As Rachele was mentioning at the beginning, we have 3 different venues in the heart of Venice, which are Palazzo Bembo, Palazzo Mora, and the Marinarezza Gardens. It's very important, again, to highlight the importance of being free entrance for everybody, being accessible, and also the fact that part of our mission is also linked to the restoration and the renovation and conservation of the venues that we have in Venice, and we like to highlight that. We have a little selection of projects that we have presented in the past editions that can also like share more about the possibilities of interacting with Venice, with our venues, and with the environment that we have in the art of the city. This is an example from Snoetta. Sorry, we're not very lucky today with the sound. It's a project by Snoetta called Counterbalance. As Michelle Delk was mentioning in the video, this is something site-specifically created for the Marina Ressa Gardens and also created in collaboration with a local manufacturer we have been working with in order to make sure that the project was possible in the city of Venice. And it's an example of how our team works very closely with practitioners and educational institutions and research lab in order to make sure that the project they have in mind can be effectively presented to the audience over the 6 months of the show. This is a project from the University of Oregon. As we're going to see also later on, thanks to our partners like on the stage, we have many collaborations with international research centers and educational institutions. And this is an example from an American institution about transspecies design. The show has been created by the Dean Adrian Parr and presents a selection of projects about transspecies design from all over the world with a specific focus on Oregon and Pennsylvania. Voila. This is a project we presented last year in collaboration with Allsim and the Norman Foster Foundation. It's a prototype for an emergency shelter that has been created thanks to the technology provided by Allsim and the expertise from the Norman Foster Foundation. The project has been there in Marina Ressa Gardens from 6 months, and thanks to the exposure that also the project had through the exhibition, Allsim and Foster Foundation had the chance to further develop the project and present it to stakeholders in order to bring the project to a next step. And now it's going to become a format for a social housing project in the Central America. This is a show in Palazzo Bembo, created in collaboration with Gerber Architects from Germany. In this case, we have an established German firm in landscape architecture who decided to bring together a collection of projects they've been working on over the years and presenting through our audience with different media. So we have images, we have also many publications, and in a space where the audience is invited to interact and get to know more about their practice and all the beautiful projects they've been doing over the years. And this is a project from the Civic Media Lab from the MIT, run and directed by Sarah Williams. This is an example of how research centers within the educational institutions collaborate also with international non-profit organizations. Like in this case, the project was focused on migration from Central America to Northern America, and that was done in collaboration with the World Health Organization and the food program based in Rome. And this is a project from TU Darmstadt from Germany. The institution had a very interesting approach to our venue. This is a room that became unrecognizable from Palazzo Mora, and the paper project and the potentiality of paper construction has been very nicely presented to our audience. And these are two examples of how practitioners and institutions, they decide to interact with the historical sites that we have in Venice. You have on the right Angelus Novus, which was designed by SOM in collaboration with the engineering school at Princeton University. And on the left, we have like Tono Mirai with the site-specific installation created with bamboo and other like local resource materials that we helped them to bring to Venice. A very important aspect is, of course, the partnership aspect. Like on top of the practitioners that we work with, we have some partnership that Raquel can.
Yeah, just briefly about this partnership, which is very important for us with the Fundació Miss Van der Rohe in Barcelona. We host their Young Talent Award in our venues in Palazzo Mora every 2 years, and their ceremony award where the winners of the award are nominated. and we also nominate projects which are then selected by the jury of the Miss Van der Rohe Award.
So as we mentioned before, a very important aspect of the project that we run in Venice is linked to the public program. So on top of the 6 months exhibition show, we do our best to reanimate and animate the conversation, to bring together the individuals, the collectives, and the institutions that we present in the show, and put them on stage and put them together to discuss current issues linked to their work and their activity, and to see how we can support the development of new projects. This is an example of our public program. We have a symposium called Shaping the City, which is focused on the discussion about the future of our cities and the future of our living. We have a permanent program about Shaping the City in Venice every second year, but we also bring Shaping the City around the world, and that is a very interesting tool to discuss in depth specific issues linked to specific realities and contexts, as we did in New Orleans last October, discussing about designing for the environmental crisis. Of course, with the exhibition that comes the partnership with medias, we have the chance to work with Arc Daily, Dizin, Domus, and Venice, which is a local partner for the previous editions, and we are developing new partnership for the future. It's important for us, of course, that there is a documentation and a very interesting outreach of the project that they are presenting in the show.
Yeah, and this is our plan for 2025. From the 10th of May until the 23rd of November, the exhibition will be open to the public in Venice in our 3 venues. And the themes for next year are repair, regenerate, and reuse. And today, at the introduction that we were present, we heard very similar thoughts about how we should do better, not just in a sustainable way, but really how architects can plan and differently, how we can really think differently in the way we build, in the way we see our surroundings. So we will focus on these 3 topics, and we are inviting all participants to create projects that investigate these 3 themes. So thank you. Now is your turn, Heather, to talk about your experience with us at ECC.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Heather Doubledam. I am the principal of Doubledam Architecture and Design in Toronto, Canada. And last year we had the opportunity to exhibit at the Time, Space, Existence exhibition in Venice. And so I wanted to kind of share a little bit about my experience exhibiting there. So just sort of this platform really allowed us to engage with a group, really diverse group of practices and visitors. And I wanted to share some of the insights on how these interactions enriched our understanding of architecture's impact and the value of connecting across disciplines on a global stage. So the exhibition was actually on collective housing, but livable collective housing, and it was featuring the work of women-led practices from around the globe. It brought together unique perspectives on collective housing, primarily in or near urban areas. So the diverse range of projects exhibited not only featured a variety of approaches from Europe and North America, where we normally associate livable housing, but also in developing nations such as Uganda, Malaysia, and Mexico, exploring diversity in building typology, climate, and economic and cultural factors, while embodying a shared commitment to social and environmental sustainability. When the ECC invited us to exhibit our housing work, we decided to frame our work into a larger global conversation around the need for livable housing, since the Venice Biennale is a global stage for architecture. So we invited a series of women-led practices to participate, each with a unique perspective on livability and collective housing. The practices are led by Manuelle Gautran from France, Fernanda Canales from Mexico, Elena Jamil from Malaysia, Johanna Meyer-Groberger from Germany, Alison Brooks from the UK, Jeannie Gang from the US, Doreen Udango from Uganda, Francine Herben from the Netherlands, and myself from Canada. There's a distinct sensibility in these practices' approach to creating space, an attention to how environments support human experience and a thoughtful engagement with context and materiality. The selected projects showcase new thinking around housing. They all took a bold approach to livability, exploring the balance of communal and private, design for social collection, adaptability, identity and agency, the optimization of natural light and ventilation, integration of landscaping and urban farming, and access to outdoor spaces while remaining unique to each local context and demographic. In different ways, each project redefined what collective housing can be and how it can support livability for its inhabitants. So I wanted to share how we developed the exhibition working with the ECC. Exhibiting architecture requires a unique approach to effectively conveying ideas and communicating a cohesive narrative across projects. If you're not able to visit buildings, how do you actually showcase how they work? In Palazzo Mora, we chose a wall. We basically had to choose a space or a wall on the third floor that was slightly tucked away, but offered an inviting, quiet space with natural lighting. We began exploring how to display our two-dimensional panels in a way that would animate the wall while creating the dialogue between them. So we modeled the ribbon 3D. We created miniature prints of the panels that we laid out in our office, allowing us to refine their arrangement and ensure coherence both as a collection and in their immediate relationships. Through careful consideration of color and drawing techniques, we aimed to present each project in a way that allowed viewers to grasp its essence at a glance. There was a lot of iterations to make sure that everything was flowing together. Working remotely, we relied on the ECC's support, from providing 3D room tours at the Palazzo to their guidance on fabricators. Their consistent input allowed us to adapt our plans with confidence, even from a distance. As part of the exhibition, we developed a video where the architects share their perspectives on housing, adding another dimension to the largely two-dimensional display. This, along with a dedicated website, allowed us to present different aspects of the work in a way that complemented each other. The ECC team was instrumental through the entire process, from pre-setup through to the opening. They curated each room with thoughtful synergy, grouping projects by like-minded designers and artists focused on themes such as housing and lived experience. Our space featured work by all women-led practices, which is a really interesting touch. When telling a story of a building through images and drawings, we focused on livability in the projects, shaped by 7 core principles that guided the exhibition. We collaborated closely with each firm to select projects that aligned with these principles, creating a cohesive narrative around livable design. To communicate these ideas effectively, we used a consistent set of graphic elements, including diagrams, plans, and axonometric views to explain the core concepts. Each panel also featured images or renderings of the buildings. Some featured 3D concept drawings, site plans, and unit layouts. Others included details of essential elements of the design, such as built-in planters on the building facade, and others focused on urban context or natural light. During the exhibition, the ECC hosted several openings and events throughout the run of Time-Space Existence, creating valuable opportunities for exchange. The opening events gave us the chance to connect with people from diverse backgrounds and disciplines, including other exhibitors. These gatherings allowed firms to share their work, advocate for their ideas, and exchange in a broader conversation about the pressing issues facing our society today. The ECC has extensive media connections that were present during the opening events and throughout the duration of the exhibition. Along with our own promotional efforts, we received quite extensive coverage of our exhibition, further extending the ideas that we wanted to promote. The opportunity to collaborate with 8 other internationally recognized architects opened up further conversations for collaboration, and it was wonderful to meet so many of them in person in Venice. So in closing, I'll share with you a 3-minute video that the ECC produced on our exhibition featuring several of the firm principals who attended the exhibition.
It's crucial that you imagine for who you are designing and for who you're making a home. We should also think much more in a collective way. It's not just a single home, it's also the collective of many homes together.
Collectivity is something that's essential in terms of increasing density, but everyone has their own idea of the division between private space versus communal spaces. We collaborated with the European Cultural Center and 8 other architecture practices from around the world who focus on very livable housing. These particular housing projects that are designed by women-led practices, they have a slightly different perspective.
All of the architects in this exhibition demonstrate that we are each very concerned about responding in a particular way to a particular place, culture, locale, and meaning to those places for those communities.
What is very important for me as an architect is your attitude. We are not autonomous artists. So we're always working with a client, often even in a political situation. But our task is to give imagination, and we can be very strong in that.
We try to foster connections between residents. That can happen by creating view connections on the outside, on the balconies, and when you see your neighbors. But also the building itself can be a good neighbor.
The idea of housing as being civic building, to me, is tied to reciprocity. There's a condition of reciprocity between the private space of the individual or the collection of individuals and the public realm, and it gives back in a very important way.
When you collaborate on an exhibition like this, you learn from each other. You learn from the other projects. You're studying the other projects in terms of what other people are doing.
This kind of exchange of ideas finds its way into the decisions we make on a daily life. It's people we meet, it's collaborations across countries. There are a lot of professional relationships, but friendships that also form that can really help to spread ideas across the globe.
If you go to Venice, to the Architecture Biennale, you will have an overview of how architects are addressing the critical issues of today. It's really a place where the bigger problems of society are highlighted through architectural projects, but also the solutions.
So come to Venice, to the European Cultural Center, and there's an enormous amount of exhibitions, and it gives you a lot of inspiration.
That sums things up very nicely. Thank you.
Okay, I'm Shri. I'm representing the Singapore University of Technology and Design and also the Singapore ETH Center, the Future Cities Laboratory. So we've had the pleasure to exhibit at the Venice with UCC 3 times, and we are looking forward to the next one as well. So it's my pleasure to take you all on a journey of one of our exhibits, which made a significant impact in the Singapore public landscape. So today, I'd like to take you through the story of the Future of Us Pavilion in Singapore's Gardens by the Bay. Now, this project exemplifies how architecture can become an immersive experience that both reflects and connects with the environment. I'll also highlight how the early opportunity to exhibit this work at the Time Space Existence exhibition in Venice played a very pivotal role in shaping its path from concept to becoming a permanent landmark in In recent years, computational tools have transformed the way we design, allowing for the creation of intricate forms and environmentally responsive structures. The pavilion was an exciting opportunity to explore these possibilities. Our goal was to create a unique urban space, one that mirrors the experience of walking under a tropical canopy, integrating with the lush landscape of Gardens by the Bay, and offering a climatically comfortable experience for the visitors. So the journey of the Future of Us Pavilion began in 2014 when we presented our initial design concept at the Time Space Existence exhibition in Venice, hosted by the European Culture Center. This exhibition allowed us to showcase a prototype that captured the essence of the pavilion's vision, an interplay of light, shadow, and form achieved through computational design. Presenting in Venice was a transformative experience. Not only did it give us invaluable feedback from the global audience, but it also helped generate early interest and support for the project back in Singapore. This exhibition underscored the relevance of creating architecture rooted in Singapore's unique climate and urban culture, and this also gave us the international exposure fueled the pavilion's further development. In Venice, our team presented a scaled prototype of the pavilion. Constructed from laser-cut aluminium sheets folded and assembled into modular panels, this display allowed us to test and showcase the pavilion's structural integrity and computational design approach on an international stage. This exposure was critical. It gave us the confidence to take the project to the next level, adapting the concept into a full-scale pavilion that could serve as a public landmark. After the Venice Biennale, our team presented a scaled prototype of the pavilion. After the Venice Biennale, we were actually invited to showcase the prototype at Singapore's National Design Centre, where it drew the attention of the Future of Us exhibition team. This led to the commission of a full-scale version of the pavilion at the Gardens by the Bay as part of Singapore's 50th anniversary celebrations in 2015. Originally intended as a temporary structure, the pavilion captured the public's imagination, and it became such a beloved feature that it was eventually made permanent, underscoring the impact that a well-designed public space can have on a community. So the pavilion's design consists of over 11,000 unique aluminium panels and a complex steel frame. This complex structure was made possible through advanced computational simulations, which optimized everything from material use to structural stability. Each panel is part of a highly modular system, and the structure's vaulted arms and central shell allow for natural light and ventilation, minimizing its environmental footprint while enhancing visitor comfort. Since its completion, the pavilion has now become a central venue for community and cultural events, hosting everything from the Singapore Garden Festival to large-scale art installations by artists like Arthur Bodalo. The pavilion serves as an adaptable urban space designed to evolve with the city's need and continuously engage the community. It also stands as a testament to how a space initially created for a very specific purpose can adapt and remain relevant by integrating with the city's cultural landscape. In 2018, the pavilion received the President's Design Award, Singapore's highest honor for design excellence. Publications like National Geographic have featured the pavilion as a case study in cutting-edge architecture, illustrating how computational design and modular construction can bring beauty and resilience to urban spaces. The recognition has strengthened our belief in the importance of merging computational precision with ecological sensitivity in high-density environments. One example of how the pavilion has become a vibrant cultural space is the 2019 Team Lab exhibition, Flowers and People. This large-scale interactive projection transformed the pavilion into an immersive digital experience, showcasing its adaptability as a canvas for contemporary art. It also exhibition highlighted how the pavilion's design can support diverse artistic expressions, reinforcing its role as a dynamic cultural landmark within Singapore. So in conclusion, the early opportunity to present this project at the Time Space Existence exhibition was essential to its success. The exhibition validated our approach and underscored the global relevance of a design rooted in Singapore's unique environment. The Future of Us Pavilion is a prime example of how architectural exhibitions can serve as a launching pad for innovative ideas, allowing concepts to evolve into impactful urban landmarks. Since our first exhibition of this pavilion in Venice, we have been invited back to showcase our ongoing work at the Singapore ETH Centre's Future Cities Laboratory. We've had the privilege to exhibit twice more at the Time Space Existence exhibition, and we are preparing to return with new work in 2025. We are deeply grateful to the Venice curatorial team and team for their continued support, as these exhibitions have helped us bring our ideas from prototype to reality, shaping Singapore's urban landscape and fostering meaningful international dialogue. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, we're slightly running over time, but I think we'll make a bit of time for discussion, so please come and sit down. Now, my experience, and indeed my sort of lodestars for making exhibitions about architecture, was set by two senior colleagues at the Royal Academy of Arts in London. One was Norman Rosenthal, who is responsible for some of the most important art exhibitions of the last 40 years. And he used to say, but Jeremy, you can't make an exhibition of architecture. It's an exhibition of photographs of architecture. And the more one thinks about that, I mean, Norman was not above being controversial, but it is quite difficult to get away from it if you're trying to depict buildings. So that's one thing that I always bore in mind. The other was another colleague at the Royal Academy, Mary Ann Stevens, who was also responsible for some very successful exhibitions. The sort of highest insult she could make for an exhibition was, it's a book on the wall. And her view was that if you can make something in the same format into a book, why would you go to the expense of making it an exhibition? And I think that those are very useful things about architecture, because exhibiting architecture doesn't behave like paintings. You know, you can't get it out of a store, off a gallery wall, move it and hang it somewhere else. It's not like sculpture where you can move it. It's obviously expensive to move, but you can move it. And it's not like performance, which can obviously take place in all sorts of different spaces, and increasingly is doing so. So exhibiting architecture, I think, is quite difficult. And it also, but the advantage of that is that you can probably do it in a wider range of spaces, whether it's in the Gardens by the Bay Park or you know, in a 16th century palazzo in Venice, which, you know, is not conventional art space. You know, it's not top lit. It may not even be fully climate controlled and security. I don't know, it may be, but All those things you have to take into account when you're hanging major works of art. But with architecture, you can play with it. So how do you at the ECC brief your curators and your colleagues about that?
Yeah, so absolutely, it's a challenge. It's even more challenging for us to explain why, when we invite architects to participate, why they should participate and exhibit something. It's a challenge because of the architecture of the building itself, which is very present. There are rooms with fresco ceilings, so it's about translating the concept. So what people see in the exhibition sometimes is a photograph, a model, but we always try to explain that we do not have only to think about while we make a building or create a building for whom we are building, but also for whom we are exhibiting. So the publics in Venice is very diverse. There are not only experts, but also families and students and people coming from different cultures. So it's about translating the concept into something creative. So sometimes we have site-specific installations which are not about buildings. It's more a theoretical project, speculations about current thoughts, ideas, or research projects, or a combination of both. So there are, as we showed before, firms, global firms partnering with research centers, institutions, universities to create something unique for the exhibition, to convey a research or a thought. Yeah. It's what we are doing in Venice. It's really to create this platform where different thoughts, different ideas, and research can be seen, can be experienced sometimes through different senses, not just visually, but there are rooms which really create an immersive experience about a research, an idea, or a concept. So it's absolutely very difficult, especially in Venice, and we are doing our best to translate this into something beautiful and unforgettable.
But you're right, you can use other strategies than showing images or pieces of buildings. Heather, how did you find working with this? You were working in relatively conventional Renaissance palazzo spaces, showing contemporary architecture. How did you work with that sort of tension?
Well, is this on? Yeah. I think for us it was really about creating a dialogue between the work, between the different projects. And instead of, your analogy is a really good one, what's the difference between an exhibition and a book? Well, an exhibition brings a lot of people together in one space and you're physically present. And the stories that are shared through the way that you depict the work and the dialogue between the different projects, not only in our exhibition, but in our room. In the room, there was all different exhibitors, all different types of work, all shown in different ways too. And so you could spend a bit of time in that one space and understand something about housing or understand something about some other pressing issue, and then go into another room and there's another topic, and the way that the entire building was curated was quite different than if you just go to a single exhibition. I do think, though, that other than showing parts of a building, that there's a whole series of drawings and physical models and video. When they come together, it tells a much bigger story when you're not able to visit the building yourself. And also, sometimes when you're visiting a building, there's so many things you don't read from it that you would get if you went to an exhibition that's highlighted what's important about them.
Well, the advantage of an exhibition, because Norman would go on to say, well, why didn't you just go to a city and look at buildings there? And of course, that is absolutely vital, speaking as an architectural historian. But you're always diverted by other things, whereas the advantage of an exhibition is it can create a sense of intensity, I think, is a great one. You wanted to come in?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think for us, the experience of exhibiting has been quite significant, because we went from exhibiting something like a small prototype of a pavilion to the most recent, which was really a research work of a huge body of work, which is generated by over 150 researchers. So the challenge and also the excitement is how do you translate so much of information into that one small space and capture the attention and the feedbacks from the visitors in that short span of time. You know, we always, in our research, we talk about the attention span, right? People don't have a long attention span. So you really need to capture their interest and their attention in a very short moment. So I think that the journey which we take to exhibit is more exciting. You know, the exhibition itself is an excitement in another way, but the journey to curate that exhibition, to try and understand what's the best way to showcase what we are doing and what's the best way to create impact, right? Because as you mentioned, the audience is so diverse, and we get the opportunity to have a huge volume of visitors, you know, over 6 months. So we need to make sure that we keep it relevant to everyone who comes there. So I think for us, the whole process becomes really another experience in itself.
Absolutely, and I think one of the things you're doing is, as you say, you're taking a research idea, making an exhibit out of it, and then gradually making a building, which then also becomes an exhibit, as well as a vehicle for showing exhibitions. And the video you showed of, what was it? The lights.
The projections.
The projections was absolutely fascinating, because you know there it is becoming its own exhibition, and I think that starts to me to become really interesting, because you're in a sense you're rising above all these dilemmas about, well, how do you show bits of buildings and bits of other buildings into something which is its own sui generis experience.
Correct. No, I think for us, the Future of Us has been a milestone in many ways, you know, where it generated as a very small idea in a lab by a few students, right? And then you realize, okay, what more can we do with this? And then you start with a small modular panel, and then you start with a small 3D printed model, and then, you know, once this gets to more people, then it creates interest. And then, interestingly, it went to Venice and then got its impact back in Singapore. Yeah. So that tells you the platform which Venice provides you with, you know, and what the opportunity is around for you to grab. You know?
So there's a life beyond the exhibition, which is really interesting. And Heather, I wonder if I could ask you about that. You said that you're beginning to develop new relationships, new friendships, new associations with the people in your exhibition. How is that developing, and what could be the results of it?
Well, you get to know other people's work and them, what they're like as professionals. And so that can stimulate other collaboration. So a lot of the firms, some of the firms that were included in our exhibition are large firms, and they are interested in doing work in Canada. So they're always looking for a local architect. So there's been opportunities for us to talk about projects, to enter competitions, or even just to get together kind of socially and talk about architecture when they're visiting the country. So it's just, there's always, I think that all collaborations kind of stimulate more ideas and the networking and just sort of the, you know, professional growth that you get out of those connections.
Well, thank you very much. I'm afraid we've run out of time, but I know there is a stand that the ECC have, which is just over there. You can see it if you turn around. Time, Space, Existence, and I think you're all very welcome. Everyone is welcome to go to see it and talk to Rachele and Luciana about what they're doing in Venice, because I think it's extremely interesting, and we could obviously go on all afternoon with this sort of subject. But thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.